Run.
Welcome one and all to On the Run, and yes, those of you who have been watching On the Run for some time may recognise the background. I am back in Macau, finally back to home base after 65 days on the run. I am in Macau, which is great. Now let's have a look and see what we've got for you this week. So we'll begin with something a little bit different from us on IAG here for On the Run. IAG is hiring. Yes, we're looking for a senior executive to join our team, and it could be you. Excuse me. Could be you, yes. So we're looking for somebody dynamic, young and enthusiastic to join our leadership team and to help us through our current stage of very high growth. We don't hire somebody like this very often at all. We have sort of an average tenure at IAG of about 7 years, and the leadership team is very, very fixed. But we are looking to add somebody new to join our team and for us to help them grow. So we're looking to find somebody who would become a key leader and would perhaps already know IAG, know a little bit about our growth story, that IAG is a 19-year-old company, but really embarked upon serious growth once it joined oOh!media in 2015. So we grew quite substantially 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Then of course 2021, 22 we had the COVID years, and then 23 was a recovery back to 19 levels, and 24 we're off to a flyer. Very big growth, very big increase in business, but that of course brings with it an increase of things that we need to deliver. And so we're looking to grow our team. So here's an opportunity for somebody to come on board with a clearly defined career path. We're looking for somebody to come on board as one of our senior team, reporting directly to me and implementing a range of strategic initiatives for oOh!media, the parent company of IAG, primarily IAG stuff, but one or two little non-IAG things as well under the oOh!media umbrella. And that person could eventually grow to become a chief of staff, and then eventually grow to become a chief operating officer. That's what we are thinking. So would afford opportunities to work with all the major IR companies in the APAC region. That's over 20 companies. Give a very, very broad base of skills, broad geography, lots of travel. So if you are a talented, enthusiastic, entrepreneurial-minded individual thinking that that could be interesting, and you want to work not for one IR, but in a way for them all, or not for one supplier company, but in a way for them all, and to work across the entire industry and learn all sorts of aspects of the industry, including marketing, promotion, media, but all sorts of other strategic developments as well, then get in touch with me and email me at my email address, which I think most people here know is ceo@asgam.com, asgam.com. Right, well, let's move on now to this week's top 10, and we've got 10 quite interesting stories, and they're quite detailed stories too, so let's get into it because this could take a while. At number 10, Light & Wonder are doing great. They announced their profit at more than tripled to $67 million US for the last quarter of last year. Their net income, it's the 11th straight quarter in a row of year-on-year revenue growth for them. And the CEO, Matt Wilson, was of course on the cover of the January issue of IAG. And if you want to go and read that story, you'll understand a bit about what's going on at that company and why their profitability is growing so much. Their 2023 adjusted EBITDA is up 14% year on year to $302 million US dollars. Double-digit growth across all their business segments. Robust gaming machines sales growth, it was described as in the announcement, up 31% year on year gaming machine sales. And their CEO, Matt Wilson, said that 2023 was a banner year for Light & Wonder. So congratulations to Light & Wonder, of course, represented by none other than Ken Jolly in the APAC region. or Asia, I should say, I think actually. All right, number 9. So Myanmar is a sort of notorious country, one of only 3 countries in the world on the global AML blacklist, renowned as a hub for illicit gambling and all sorts of other illicit activities, particularly in the Golden Triangle in the north of the country. And the Financial Action Task Force, or FATF, as some people call them, put them on the blacklist after their plenary meeting in Paris last Friday, it was. And the blacklist, their definition of the blacklist, I actually wrote it down here for you: significant strategic deficiencies in their regimes to counter money laundering, terrorist financing, and financing of proliferation. And if you're wondering what proliferation is, it's the provision of funds or financial services used for the manufacture, acquisition, possession, development, export, transshipment, brokering, transport, transfer, stockpiling, or use of nuclear, chemical, or biological weapons and their means of delivery. So this is pretty nasty stuff. And the only other 2 countries on the blacklist are, wait for it, North Korea and Iran. So Myanmar's in some pretty notorious company there, and they need to do something about it. And from time to time on IAG, we report about some of the illicit gambling going on out of Myanmar, and it isn't pretty. All right, let's move on to number 8. So Tigre to Cristal, we've reported on them a lot, the integrated resort up in Vladivostok in Russia. They had a buyer wanting to acquire them from Let Group, or Summit Ascent, which in turn is owned by Let Group, which is the former Sun City. So essentially it's Sun City. The company's name, I'm going to have a go at pronouncing it. Here we go. Dalnevostoknia Active LLC. I think it's the local Russian buyer. It was going to buy G1. So G1 Entertainment LLC, the company that I think operates Oriental Regent Limited. There's a mess of companies up there. Tigre to Cristal operated Oriental Regent Limited, but I know all the staff work for G1 Entertainment LLC. Anyway, this Russian company, which I won't attempt to pronounce again, was meant to be buying for $116 million US, and the Let and the Summit Ascent boards have seen a mass exodus of all directors bar Andrew Lowe, who took over after Alvin Chow went to jail, and they've all resigned. Every board member of both companies have resigned en masse, leaving Andrew on his own. And there is apparently no shareholder approval for this sale. And in any event, this Russian company wants to pull out of the sale. They want to. They issued a notice of unilateral extrajudicial repudiation, i.e., withdrawal from execution of the agreement. So they want out, and the Hong Kong Securities and Futures Commission is giving, Andrew really, because he's the only one left on the board, some heat over this, stating they have serious concerns about the conduct of management of both companies, and the companies have failed to respond to requests from the SFC, that's the Hong Kong Securities and Futures Commission, to address its concerns. So trouble in paradise there. Let's follow that with interest. Number 7, Resorts World Genting shuts 2 of its 3 casinos. So Resorts World Genting, of course, 1 hour drive up north up the mountain from Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. Genting's first ever property, and it has enormous number of hotel rooms, I think 10,000 or so, amongst a number of different hotels, one of which claims to be the biggest number of rooms in a hotel in the world. And that is a sort of a sprawling integrated resort complex with all sorts of features and 3 casinos, 2 of them being closed, with no explanation given on the website, but we've since heard that it might be for renovations, which is a good excuse, but also may be true, and that players were redirected to the Sky Casino. So it was Genting Casino number 1, the Circus Palace Casino, and Genting Casino number 2, the Hollywood Casino, that were closed, with shuttles put in place to the Sky Casino, all on the same sort of compound, I guess you would say. Number 6, Genting Singapore, completely different company, but related at the top, of course. Genting Singapore records US 455 million profit for the 2023 year. So Genting Singapore, which of course operates Resorts World Sentosa, revenue US 1 billion for the second half of 2023, up 26% year on year. Adjusted EBITDA of 427 million. So that's a big margin there of 42.7% adjusted EBITDA margin. 2023 financial year revenues and for the full year 1.8 billion and 767 million adjusted EBITDA, which is also around 43%. And Maybank analyst Samuel Yin, who follows this company closely, he's lowered his 2024 EBITDA estimate by 6% to 871 million, still an increase on 2023, but he's lowered it, citing higher impairment of trade receivables, depreciation and amortization. But still a great result compared to the pandemic times for Genting Singapore. So well done to everyone at Genting Singapore, including, of course, Andrew McDonald. Number 5 this week, Philippines still on the global AML grey list. So as I mentioned before when I talked about Myanmar, the FATF, the Financial Action Task Force, had its plenary session in Paris last Friday, and it's still put the Philippines on the grey list. It did acknowledge some improvements by the Philippines, but urged the Philippines to, and I quote, swiftly implement its action plan to address strategic deficiencies. Now, President President Marcos, has come out and said that he wants this fixed. He wants the Philippines off the grey list. It's not good for the country's reputation. And of course, if you're on the blacklist, other countries are not meant to deal with you at all, really, or to deal with you in very, very limited ways. The grey list is not as bad, but still there are some limitations and some advice to countries on about how to deal financially with countries that are on the grey list, and no one wants to be on the grey list. Vietnam is also on the grey list, by the way. So, number 4. Let's move on to story number 4. Macau seeking a new stadium to hold up to 50,000 people for concerts. This is an interesting story. Those of you who follow the industry will know that Macau has gone into non-gaming in a big way. They're really trying to promote non-gaming, diversify the economy. How successful that will be remains to be seen. But they're making a genuine effort. And part of that has been a lot of concerts recently. So we've had quite a few K-pop concerts in Macau in the past month or two. And in particular, there was a boy band, 17, named 17, that held a concert at Macau's Taipa Stadium, but there are a lot of issues: noise pollution and light pollution. The Taipa Stadium is quite in a residential area. There's a lot of people living around there. A lot of people complained about the disruption from noise and light pollution, and also just traffic as well. Enormous number of people in the area around that time. And also the grass on the stadium was damaged quite badly, and the government trying to get some money from the promoter to compensate for that. So the government's come out and said, the Secretary for Social Affairs and Culture, Elsie Au, came out and said, look, we've got to get a venue to hold 20, 30, maybe even 50,000 people. So we need to find a venue somewhere in Macau that can do that. So the obvious place is in the new Macau Tower reclamation. There's a space there. But anyway, let's see how that plays out. But that's interesting. Macau may end up with a generic stadium of up to 50,000 people, not attached to any one of the concessionaires, which I think would be a good thing. Okay, number 3. This is an interesting story that came out this week out of mainland China. It was on CCTV, the government-controlled media TV station in mainland China, and they reported that the Ministry for Public Security had been involved in a mega cross-border online gambling case where 93 suspects had been arrested over around, I think it was around 20 different provinces from memory, including Henan, Hubei, Hunan, a lot of people. And they said that the case involved, that's an interesting word, 725 billion renminbi, which is basically 100 billion US dollars, actually 101. So 100 billion US dollars, obviously a ferocious amount of money. And when media reports on these things and they want to sensationalize and they want to make the numbers big, of course they go for some number like turnover rather than gross gaming revenue or something like that. As you know, there are many different metrics in our industry and you can get some ferocious numbers. If you look at turnover, the same money going round and round and round again, makes for a good headline. Because 100 billion US, wow, that is huge. Although it does seem that this group was very big. Apparently they had over 50,000 Chinese agents. This is what the story said. Close to 1 million members. So if you go 1 million members divided by 50,000 agents, that's 20 members per agent. So sort of, small agents taking care of a handful of gamblers. And I guess if you take 100 billion US dollars and you divide it by 1 million, they said close to, so let's say it was 1 million members, that's still $100,000 US dollars each. That's a very large amount of money for one gambler. So it'd have to be some kind of turnover metric rather than anything else, I think. Apparently there were 300 people working in operations. It was based out of the Philippines but run by Chinese, mainland Chinese, and they arrested the Chinese when they returned home for vacation from the Philippines. And apparently the platform had a running account of this $100 billion. So is that total amount of money in and out? Or is it by running account, do they mean turnover or something like that? I think they probably mean turnover. Anyway, it was nevertheless, it was big, right? They say nearly 1 million members, 300 people operating, 93 arrested, 50,000 agents. Even if there's a lot of misunderstanding and bad reporting, it's big. And apparently it was based out of Cagayan. It was called Cagayan or something. So don't really know what that's about, but maybe they were trying to claim, the Cagayan region of the Philippines, the north of the Philippines, claim association with that in some way or something like that, because there is regulated online gaming up there. All right, that's enough about that story. Number 2, Lawrence Ho falls off the Hong Kong 2024 rich list. Well, if I was on the Hong Kong on the Hong Kong rich list and then I fell off it, I'd be upset. Apparently he was, there's a rumour going around. I shouldn't really report on rumours, should I? No, let's not say that. Right, okay, forget that. Yes, what can I tell you about this? Okay, it's the first time in a decade that he was off the list. Last year, 2023, he was 46th on the list with a fortune of US 1.4 billion. But now he's more than 50th, obviously. Could be 51st, but yeah, they've got him with a lower fortune, or at least a lower fortune in relation to everybody else. 3 gaming people made the list. Sorry, not 4. I think it was 3. Anyway, I got 4 names for you, and one's not a gaming person. The number 1, of course, we've got to say who that was, and of course it was Li Ka-sheng. Everybody knows Li Ka-sheng. He had 36 billion US according to the list. Number 3 was Henry Cheng of Chow Tai Fook fame, of course. Has 10% of SJM, has equity in Star, has equity in the new Queen's Wharf thing in Brisbane, has Bahama, has a bunch of gaming investments, but gaming is actually a relatively small part of his empire, which is why on the Power 50 he's relatively far down the Power 50 list for such a rich guy, but 22 billion. Of course, his daughter Sonia Cheng is the CEO of Rosewood Hotels. Beautiful hotels, absolutely immaculate, lovely hotels, but too nice and don't make any money. Loy Chi Wu, number 7, of course, Francis Loy's father and the chairman of Galaxy Entertainment Group, coming in with US 12 billion. And the other one rounding out the list, Pansy Ho, came in at number 22 with around 4 billion, a little under 4 billion, 3.7 or something, I think it was. Around 4 billion, let's round it up. What's 300 million between friends? Pansy Ho's on the list too, but Lawrence is not. So it looks like Pansy's got more than double what Lawrence has got. Yeah. And the number one story this week, well, it just happened. GEG's results came out. for the fourth quarter of 2023 and therefore the full year of 2023. Their GGR up 6% sequentially to 1.18 billion US dollars for the quarter. Net revenues 1.3 billion, so about 90% is gaming. What else can I tell you? Adjusted EBITDA 2.8 billion Hong Kong, which is 360 million US, broadly in line with the Q3 results, although they say they played unlucky to the tune of about 12 million US. Rolling chip win came in at 116 million US. Mass win came in at $1 billion US, so roughly 11% was rolling win, and I guess therefore, well, there was also slots, so that would make it 82% mass win and 6% slots, because electronic gaming win came in at 65 million US. Yes, so for the full year, their net revenues were 4.6 billion with an adjusted EBITDA of 1.3 billion. So obviously by the time you get down to EBITDA and then you get down to net profit, probably under $1 billion, I guess. So is that a good result? Well, it's a lot of money, but I think Francis would probably want more, to be frank, for the huge investment and for the big asset that it is. There was some insight into Q1 operations during the earnings call and the notes. They've got about 5,000 rooms now, Galaxy, and they're running at essentially 100% occupancy. Apparently, Chinese New Year mass gaming was running at about 120% of 2019 levels. They did declare a dividend, first company in Macau to start declaring dividends again, 30 cents per share. That's 30 cents Hong Kong, of course. That you'll get your dividend, I'll get my dividend, you'll get your dividend. We'll all get our dividends if we hold Galaxy shares on the 26th of April. And they've got 2.9 billion US dollars net cash in the bank. That's less than the 5 or 6 billion they used to have before COVID. But of course, A, we had COVID, and B, they have built so much in asset in phase 3 and phase 4, and they've used that cash, of course, and of course they borrowed money as well. So that cash, Loy Chi Wu actually mentioned that cash will help them to continue on their development pipeline. They're not going to finish phase 4 until 2027, they say. I've also heard 26, but say 26 or 27, they'll finish phase 4. And also their international expansion ambitions, he mentioned that as well. And we note that they have opened offices in Japan again and Thailand, ostensibly, of course, and probably genuinely to promote international visitation to Macau. But I'm sure there are also backdoor offices to possible IR developments in those countries themselves, which we have talked about on IAG on numerous occasions before. So let's not go into that now, because this is already quite a long on the run. And the last thing for me to mention, that's number one out the way, is that MAD is back. Yes, Macau After Dark and Manila After Dark is back. We've had our traditionally quite quiet January and February. We'll be into March. Well, we'll be into March now. 1st of March, as you listen to this, late on the 29th of February, a leap day, as I record this. And March the 20th at Okada Manila will be our Manila After Dark. We're really looking forward to that. And what's the other one? March 26th at Sofitel, our good friends at Sofitel at Pont 16. They always take great care of us up there, great property. And we will be there on March 26th for a barbecue. Hopefully the weather's good, because we're looking to do a barbecue on the North Terrace. Should be great. Of course, we have backup plans if it's raining, but hopefully it's good weather and we can be there. All right, well, that's it for On The Run this week. Quite a long one. Again, if you're interested in a new career and that fits you, please go and check out the detailed explanation on asgam.com. There is a story there posted there today, Friday, that shows a little bit about it. And if it sounds interesting, get in touch with me. I can get your CV and we can take it from there. And hopefully somebody watching this video right now, in a month or two from now, is working for O-Media or for IAG. So that would be great. Have a good weekend. Enjoy yourself, and let's get stuck into the month of March from next week for travel that will be coming up for me, and for more business in Macau, the Philippines, Singapore, Australia, Cambodia, Korea, and all the other places around the APAC region with gaming. See you next week. Have fun. Bye for now.
Run.